The Multiverse Within. Introduction. At every moment, infinite possibilities unfold. Every choice you make branches into different timelines, creating versions of you that exist simultaneously across multiple realities. Modern physics suggests that parallel universes are not just theory, they are a fundamental part of reality. But beyond scientific speculation, mystics, shamans, and spiritual seekers have long spoken of accessing these alternate dimensions through consciousness. What if you could tune into these alternate versions of yourself? What if you could connect with the you who has already achieved what you seek? This book is a guide to exploring the multiverse within, where infinite timelines, multiple selves, and profound transformation await. For centuries, spiritual traditions and mystical teachings have hinted at a reality far more complex than what our senses perceive. The Hindu Vedas describe infinite lokas, realms of existence layered within the great cosmic order, where different versions of the self experience parallel realities. The Tibetan Book of the Dead speaks of the bardo, a state of transition where souls navigate multiple paths before choosing a new life. Hermetic philosophy, passed down through the ages, teaches that reality is shaped by vibration and thought, mirroring the idea that consciousness determines the world we experience. These teachings, once dismissed as myths, now find remarkable parallels in modern science. Quantum physics has disrupted our traditional understanding of the universe. The famous double-slit experiment revealed that subatomic particles exist in a state of probability until observed, suggesting that reality is not fixed until consciousness interacts with it. This is not speculation. It is a foundational principle of quantum mechanics. Even more astonishing is Dr. Hugh Everett's many worlds interpretation, which proposes that every possible outcome of a decision actually happens but in separate parallel universes. This means that every path you did not take, every opportunity you missed, every version of yourself that made a different choice still exists just outside your current perception. If this is true, then reality is not a singular experience, but a vast branching network of possibilities, each unfolding in its own unique way. But what if you could shift between these versions of yourself? What if, instead of being locked into a single timeline, you could learn to navigate them, choosing the reality that aligns with your highest potential? Mystics and shamans have long spoken of this ability. Through altered states of consciousness, vision quests, and deep meditation, they claim to have traveled between worlds, gaining knowledge from other versions of themselves, retrieving wisdom from alternate timelines, and merging with their highest selves. These practices, once considered mystical or supernatural, are now being studied in scientific fields. Dr. Joe Dispenza's research on neuroplasticity and consciousness shows that the brain is not a fixed organ, but a dynamic, malleable structure that changes based on focus and intention. Experiments in quantum cognition suggest that thoughts behave like quantum particles, existing in multiple states at once, until they are focused into a single experience. This aligns with Neville Goddard's teachings on reality creation, which state that the key to shifting timelines lies in assuming the feeling of the desired reality before it manifests. So if quantum physics, ancient mysticism, and modern consciousness studies all suggest that reality is fluid, what does this mean for you? It means that you are not just one person living one life. You are a multidimensional being, connected to infinite versions of yourself across multiple timelines. Your consciousness is not confined to this single reality. The dreams you have of another life, the intuitive flashes of possibilities not yet lived, the feeling that you are meant for something greater, all of these may be glimpses of the parallel versions of you that already exist. But knowing this is only the first step. The real transformation begins when you learn how to access these alternate versions of yourself consciously. This book is not about abstract theories or distant possibilities. It is a practical guide to shifting your awareness, unlocking the hidden dimensions of your consciousness, and stepping into the highest version of yourself. The tools within these pages will show you how to align with the version of you that has already achieved your goals, overcome your limitations, and embraced your full potential. Your mind is the key. The thoughts you hold, The emotions you cultivate and the beliefs you reinforce act as frequency selectors, tuning you into different versions of reality. Just as a radio receiver picks up different stations by shifting its frequency, your consciousness can shift into alternate realities by altering its vibration. Mystics and quantum thinkers alike agree that the universe does not respond to your desires alone. It responds to your state of being. The reality you experience is a reflection of what you believe to be true. As you move through this book, you will begin to notice something remarkable. Synchronicities will increase, as if reality itself is responding to your thoughts. Unexpected opportunities will arise, aligning with the version of yourself you are shifting toward. You may even experience glitches in your perception of time, déjà vu, or moments of profound clarity that feel as though you are briefly stepping into another reality. This is not a coincidence. It is a sign that you are awakening to the multiverse within. This journey is not about escaping your current reality, but about mastering it. By understanding how your consciousness interacts with the fabric of existence, you will no longer feel like a passive observer in life. You will become an active creator, moving through dimensions with purpose and intention. The version of you that has already mastered this ability exists. Now, it is simply a matter of aligning with it. Are you ready to remember who you truly are? The door to infinite possibilities is already open. All you have to do is step through. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Linear Reality. Time is one of the greatest illusions of human perception. We are taught to believe in a past that is gone, a present that is fleeting, and a future that has yet to unfold. The clocks on our walls, the calendars we live by, and even the aging of our bodies all reinforce the idea that time moves forward in a straight line. But what if this perception is incomplete? What if time, as we know it, is nothing more than a mental construct, a filter through which our consciousness processes reality? Ancient wisdom traditions have long suggested that time is not linear, but cyclical, simultaneous, and fluid. The Hindu concept of Kala describes time as a vast ocean where all moments exist together, rather than a rigid sequence of events. The Taoists teach that time flows like a river, shifting and bending according to energy, not fixed laws. The ancient Egyptians believed that time was dual in nature. One aspect, Jet, represented fixed time, events that had occurred, while Nehi represented the eternal present, a continuous cycle of existence beyond the constraints of a timeline. In modern physics, discoveries in quantum mechanics and relativity theory have begun to dismantle the classical view of time as a forward-moving arrow. Albert Einstein's theory of relativity showed that time is not a fixed constant, but a flexible dimension intertwined with space. It bends and warps based on speed, gravity, and perception. Experiments have confirmed that two clocks, placed under different gravitational forces, tick at different rates, proving that time is not absolute, it is relative to the observer. But the implications go even deeper. The block universe theory, supported by Einstein's equations, suggests that all of time, past, present, and future, exists simultaneously. If this is true, then our experience of moving through time is simply a matter of perspective, much like a flashlight moving across a vast painting, illuminating only a small portion at a time. The painting, the totality of all existence, remains unchanged, waiting to be perceived. Mystics have long echoed this idea. The Hermetic principle of correspondence, summed up in the phrase, as above, so below, as within, so without, suggests that reality is a reflection of consciousness. Many esoteric teachings state that time is not something we move through. It is something we create moment by moment through our awareness. If time is not truly linear, then what are we experiencing when we feel nostalgia for the past or anticipation for the future? Why do some moments feel more real or significant than others? The answer may lie in the frequency of consciousness, the idea that we are constantly shifting between different timelines based on our thoughts, emotions, and focus. This could explain phenomena like déjà vu, where a moment feels strangely familiar, as if it has already happened before. Many who experience déjà vu describe an eerie certainty that they are reliving an event, but mainstream science dismisses it as a simple brain glitch. However, those who study consciousness suggest that déjà vu may be a brief alignment with another version of the self, one from a parallel timeline that is nearly identical to our own. Dreams offer another compelling clue about the nature of time and reality. Many people report precognitive dreams in which they see events that later unfold exactly as they dreamed them. Others experience timeless dreams, where past, present, and future exist in a single moment. Shamans, monks, and spiritual seekers across cultures have used dreams as gateways into alternate realities, believing that the dream state allows access to timelines beyond the constraints of waking perception. The Tibetan Dzogchen tradition teaches that dreams are a training ground for recognizing the illusion of time and space. Through lucid dreaming, practitioners learn to manipulate their environment, walk through walls, or shift locations instantly, demonstrating that the laws of time and space are malleable. They believe that just as one can wake up within a dream and control it, one can also wake up within waking life, realizing that it too is a construct shaped by consciousness. Even intuition, those sudden, inexplicable bursts of knowing, may be evidence that time is more fluid than we believe. Many who experience strong intuitive insights describe them as a feeling of remembering rather than predicting. Could it be that intuition is not about foreseeing the future, but rather tuning into a version of reality that already exists? If all of time exists simultaneously, then everything that has ever happened, and everything that ever will happen, is already present in some form. The key is learning how to shift perception to access the timeline that aligns with your desired reality. Ancient spiritual masters and modern quantum physicists alike suggest that the mind acts as a tuning device capable of selecting different frequencies of experience. By altering our beliefs, emotions, and focus, we may not be waiting for the future to arrive, but shifting ourselves into the version of reality where that future already exists. This is why manifestation practices work for some and not for others. Those who succeed are not simply hoping for a different future. They are stepping into a timeline where it is already true. If time is not what we think it is, if it is not a straight road, but an infinite web of possibilities, then we must begin to question everything we have assumed about life, fate, and free will. Perhaps destiny is not something that happens to us, but something we navigate, moment by moment, through the choices we make and the consciousness we embody. By the time you finish this book, you will no longer see yourself as a single self, trapped in a single timeline, moving inevitably toward an unknown future. You will understand that you are multidimensional, existing across many realities at once. You will recognize the moments of déjà vu, the prophetic dreams, and the deep intuitions for what they are, glimpses into the infinite field of possibilities that surround you. Now, the question is not whether time is real or an illusion. The question is, which version of reality will you choose to step into? Chapter 2. Parallel Universes, the Science and the Mysticism. Reality is not as solid as it appears. For centuries, mystics, philosophers, and spiritual seekers have spoken of multiple layers of existence, parallel worlds where different versions of life unfold simultaneously. They have described hidden dimensions, alternate timelines, and infinite realms where consciousness can travel. Now, modern science is beginning to confirm what these ancient traditions have always known. Reality is not a single, fixed structure, but a vast, branching multiverse of possibilities. Dr. Hugh Everett III's 1957 Many Worlds interpretation is among the most radical hypotheses in quantum physics. According to his hypothesis, the universe divides into several timelines once a decision is taken, with each potential conclusion taking place in a separate parallel reality. Another version of you turns right in a different timeline if you turn left at an intersection in this world. These alternate realities coexist, developing simultaneously, and are equally real. They do not negate one another. This idea may sound like science fiction, but quantum experiments provide compelling evidence that it may be true. The famous double-slit experiment demonstrated that particles exist in multiple states at once until observed, suggesting that reality does not take form until consciousness interacts with it. If this applies at the quantum level, what does it mean for human experience? Could it be that our minds are constantly choosing between multiple realities, shifting between timelines based on focus, emotion, and belief? Ancient spiritual traditions have long described a similar phenomenon, though they use different language. In Hindu philosophy, the concept of lokas refers to multiple planes of existence, each vibrating at a different frequency. Some lokas are dense and physical, much like our world, while others exist in higher dimensions, accessible only through expanded consciousness. The Buddhist Pure Lands describe similar realms, dimensions of existence shaped by consciousness, where those who attain higher awareness can travel freely. These teachings mirror the scientific idea that reality is layered, and what we perceive is only a fraction of what truly exists. Throughout history, shamans, monks, and visionaries have used altered states of consciousness to investigate these alternative realms. Ayahuasca and other plant medications are used by shamans in the Amazon rainforest to enter hidden dimensions and communicate with ancestors, spirits, and even future selves. Tibetan monks practice dream yoga, which teaches them to awaken in their dreams and travel to other parallel worlds. In order to travel between dimensions and gain access to higher wisdom, initiates in the mystery schools of ancient Egypt conducted complex rites in pyramid chambers intended to produce out-of-body experiences. These experiences imply that our consciousness is not limited to this world, but rather has the capacity to go between dimensions and access knowledge and information that is outside the realm of normal perception. But what if we are unknowingly doing this all the time? According to recent scientific research, our brains might act as receivers, tuning into several realities depending on frequency and attention. According to Dr. Carl Pribram's holographic universe idea, the brain retrieves information from a vast interconnected field of consciousness, a field that might include all potential realities, rather than storing memories like a computer does. If this is true, then our thoughts and emotions act as tuning mechanisms, aligning us with different timelines. A person who constantly focuses on fear, doubt, or failure may be unconsciously shifting into timelines where those outcomes are dominant, while someone who cultivates confidence, gratitude, and belief in their potential may be aligning with a version of reality where success and fulfillment unfold naturally. This idea is supported by the experiences of those who practice reality-shifting techniques, such as quantum jumping, a method developed by Bert Goldman, which teaches people how to shift into parallel versions of themselves who have already mastered certain skills or achieved desired outcomes. Similar techniques can be found in Jose Silva's mind control method, which teaches practitioners how to enter the alpha state to access different layers of consciousness and influence reality. Every thought, every decision, every belief is shaping the reality we experience. But instead of being passive participants in this process, what if we could learn to do it consciously? What if we could deliberately shift into a reality where we are healthier, wealthier, more enlightened, or more fulfilled? This is not speculation. It is something that mystics, shamans, and even some modern scientists believe is entirely possible. By altering consciousness, by shifting focus, by mastering the vibrational field of thought and emotion, one can begin to navigate the multiverse intentionally rather than randomly drifting between timelines. Every day, without realizing it, you are already moving through countless possible versions of reality. The person you become, the experiences you attract, the opportunities you encounter, all of these are shaped by the energy you hold. If your thoughts, emotions, and intentions are powerful enough to shape your timeline, then the question is no longer whether multiple realities exist. The question is, which one are you choosing to live in? Chapter 3. Your Multidimensional Self. Who are you really? Are you just a single person moving through time, shaped by your past experiences and defined by your choices? Or are you something far greater, a multidimensional being existing across infinite realities, connected to different versions of yourself that are unfolding simultaneously? Throughout history, spiritual traditions have hinted at the vastness of human consciousness, teaching that the self is not limited to one body, one mind, or one lifetime. Ancient mystics and modern quantum theorists alike suggest that we exist beyond what our senses perceive, that we are not singular entities but fragments of a greater whole, living in multiple dimensions at once. Most people experience life through the ego, the part of the mind that identifies with a personal history, a name, and a sense of individuality. The ego is essential for navigating the world, but it is not the true self. It is merely a role, a temporary mask worn in this version of reality. Beyond the ego lies something far greater, the higher self, the eternal, expanded intelligence that exists outside of time, overseeing all versions of you across multiple dimensions. The higher self is the part of you that is already whole, already enlightened, already in full alignment with the universe. It does not struggle, it does not fear, and it is not bound by the limitations of a single identity. Many mystical traditions describe the higher self as a guardian consciousness, a divine presence that whispers guidance through intuition, dreams, and synchronicities. The more you tune into your higher self, the more your life begins to flow effortlessly, as if unseen forces are aligning everything for you. But what if the higher self is not just an observer? What if it is actively shaping the different versions of you across time and space? This idea aligns with quantum consciousness theories, which propose that the mind is not confined to the brain, but extends into a unified field of intelligence, influencing different timelines at once. Some scientists believe that intuition and sudden insights may be messages from alternate versions of ourselves, where knowledge and experience have already been gained. The concept of past lives offers another perspective on this. Many spiritual traditions teach the idea that we have lived before and will live again, evolving through cycles of reincarnation. But if time is not linear, could it be that these lives are not actually in the past, but occurring simultaneously in different dimensions? The Tibetan Buddhist concept of tulku suggests that highly evolved souls can exist in multiple bodies at once, living parallel incarnations across different timelines. Some psychics and spiritual healers claim to have accessed future lives, experiencing memories of events that have not yet occurred. If all time exists at once, then what we call past lives might actually be parallel versions of ourselves, operating in realities that are subtly influencing our current existence. This concept could explain why some people feel deep connections to certain historical periods, locations, or cultures without any logical reason. It may not be that they lived in those times before, but that they are living there right now in a different version of reality. The idea of soul fragments offers yet another perspective on our multidimensional nature. If multiple versions of you exist across different timelines, can they ever interact? Some spiritual teachers suggest that the soul is not a single unit, but a network of consciousness, existing across many dimensions at once. They propose that different aspects of the self can become fragmented and split across multiple realities, due to trauma, unresolved experiences, or choices that cause a major divergence in personal growth. Some traditions describe a process known as soul retrieval, a shamanic practice that involves reintegrating lost fragments of the self from parallel dimensions. These fragments may be unresolved aspects of consciousness, lingering in alternate timelines, waiting to be reunited. Shamans report that after a soul retrieval, people often experience profound changes in personality, emotional healing, and an increased sense of wholeness. Could it be that when we feel out of sync or disconnected, it is because a part of us is operating in another reality? And if so, is it possible to call back those lost parts of ourselves, to merge with the highest version of who we are meant to be? If there are already countless versions of you, then the one that has mastered the thing you're looking for, be it enlightenment, success, love, or wisdom, is already out there. The secret is to figure out how to fit in with that reality. According to quantum physics, reality is a state of probability until it is observed. This implies that the version of yourself that you give your full attention is the one that comes to pass. You're locking yourself into a time frame where those experiences persist if you keep repeating old tales of struggle, failure, or limitation. However, you move into line with that reality if you start concentrating on the version of yourself that has already conquered those restrictions. Quantum jumping, a technique that lets you access the energy of a different version of yourself who has already mastered what you're looking for, is one way to accomplish this transformation. You can picture and connect with your higher self by achieving the alpha condition, a calm, meditative condition when the mind becomes more receptive. You can then absorb the wisdom, energy, and confidence of your higher self. Close your eyes and let your mind relax to start this exercise. Breathe deeply and visualize entering a place of silence where there are countless iterations of yourself. Imagine yourself in a position where you have already accomplished your goals. Imagine this self-assured, wise, and clear version of yourself standing in front of you. Imagine taking a step ahead and becoming this self. Feel as though you are taking in this new energy and assuming the attitude, feelings, and knowledge that this version of yourself possesses. Imagine that you are already this version of yourself as you open your eyes. This practice trains your subconscious mind to accept this new identity as real, shifting your timeline in the process. Reality responds not just to what you want, but to who you believe yourself to be. By aligning with the highest version of yourself, the version that has already mastered what you seek, you naturally begin to attract the experiences, insights, and synchronicities that match that reality. Every decision we make, every idea we have, and every belief we have affects not only our personal experience, but also the other incarnations of ourselves in the multiverse, if we exist in numerous dimensions. According to some mystics, raising our own consciousness also raises all other incarnations of ourselves, causing a chain reaction that alters reality on a much grander scale than we can fathom. Thus, can I become my highest self? Is no longer the question. The query is, are you ready to align with the version of you that has already awakened? Already the multiverse is reacting. Waiting for you is the version of yourself that has assumed mastery. All you need to do now is enter that reality. Chapter 4. Quantum Jumping. Tapping into your infinite possibilities. Things are not as solid as they appear to be. Infinite possibilities are all around you at any given time, yet you only see one version of events. What would it be like to be able to switch between these possibilities and enter the world where you have already accomplished your goals? Consciously aligning with different versions of yourself, versions that already exist in parallel timelines, just waiting for you to access them, is the concept behind quantum jumping. Quantum physics has shown that reality is a field of probabilities rather than a fixed entity. Quantum mechanics' many worlds interpretation holds that each choice you make produces a branching timeline that leads to a distinct version of yourself. You let fear stop you in one reality, while in another you followed your passion and succeeded. Which timeline you experience is determined by your consciousness, although both versions of you exist at the same moment. Shifting your mind into a reality where a different version of yourself already exists is known as quantum jumping. Accordingly, you don't have to start from zero if you want to learn a new skill, succeed, or transform your life. All you have to do is align yourself with the version of yourself that has already accomplished it. Researchers studying human consciousness and spiritual instructors have also investigated this concept in addition to quantum theorists. One of the most well-known systems for shifting realities is the Silva method, developed by Jose Silva in the 1960s. Silva discovered that by entering a deep meditative state, known as the alpha state, individuals could access enhanced intuition, problem-solving abilities, and even information beyond ordinary perception. Silva's research found that the human mind operates at different brainwave frequencies: beta, normal waking state; alpha, relaxed and meditative; theta, deep meditation and intuition; and delta, sleep and unconscious awareness. He taught that by deliberately entering the alpha or theta state, a person could tap into higher intelligence, access different probabilities, and influence reality. The three-screen visualization technique pioneered by Silva is one of the most effective ways to shift between timelines. To begin, enter a relaxed state by closing your eyes and taking slow, deep breaths. Visualize 3 screens in front of you. On the left screen, see your current situation, the timeline you are in now. Observe it without judgment, recognizing where you currently stand. On the center screen, see yourself making the shift, taking the actions, thinking the thoughts, and feeling the emotions of someone who is stepping into a higher version of themselves. On the right screen, visualize the completed transformation, the version of you who has already succeeded, already healed, already mastered the reality you seek. Step mentally into this final screen, absorbing the energy of this new timeline, and affirm, "This is already mine." Quantum jumping is not only about visualization, it is about belief. Science has shown that the brain does not distinguish between real and imagined experiences. This is the foundation of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on focus and repetition. Athletes improve their skills through mental rehearsal, musicians practice in their minds, and even physical healing has been documented through belief and focused thought. If reality is shaped by consciousness, then shifting your internal state alters the external world to match it. This idea is not just theoretical. Many people have experienced spontaneous reality shifts. Some have found themselves in slightly altered versions of their world, where details, street names, brand logos, even historical events appear different from what they remember. This phenomenon, often called the Mandela effect, suggests that reality is not as static as we assume, and that we may be unconsciously moving between parallel timelines all the time. A man once recounted an experience in which he found himself in what appeared to be a slightly different version of his life. He woke up one morning and noticed small but significant changes. His bedroom furniture seemed slightly rearranged, his phone contained messages he didn't remember sending, and a childhood scar he had carried for years had inexplicably disappeared. At first he dismissed these details as lapses in memory, but over the following days he realized that his usual struggles and obstacles had vanished as well. Opportunities that had once seemed impossible were suddenly within reach. Had he unknowingly jumped into a timeline where he had already overcome his challenges? Another well-documented case involved a woman who, after practicing deep meditation and affirming that she wanted to live in a version of reality where she was free of financial struggles, woke up to discover an unexpected windfall of money, gifts, refunds, and job opportunities appearing within days. She had not changed anything externally, but internally she had shifted her belief system, her energy, and her alignment with abundance. The foundation of quantum jumping is the idea that the world you perceive is chosen by your awareness. Every idea, feeling, and belief is a frequency, and you connect with the version of reality that corresponds to your vibration, much like a radio tuning into a station. You tune into a world where fear, self-doubt, and limitation rule if you cling to them. However, you can start to align with a different version of yourself if you change your frequency via profound belief, meditation, and purpose. This explains why breakthroughs, epiphanies, and intuitive leaps frequently seem to come out of nowhere. People may have experienced a sudden realization or moment of clarity when their consciousness momentarily shifted to a version of themselves that already knew the answer. This explains why people frequently talk about feeling like a different person following a significant change in viewpoint, possibly because they have truly blended with an alternative timeline in which they represent a higher state of consciousness. If every possible version of you already exists, then change is not about struggle or effort. It is about alignment. You do not need to force reality to bend to your will. You simply need to become the version of yourself that already lives the reality you seek. By practicing quantum jumping, using techniques like the Silver method, and embracing the deep truth that consciousness is the architect of experience, you can begin to shift between possibilities deliberately, rather than by chance. Those who master this understanding no longer feel trapped by fate or randomness. They recognize that they are the creators of their experience, and that every thought, every feeling, every belief is shaping the version of reality they step into next. The multiverse is infinite. The possibilities are endless. The question is no longer whether you can shift into a higher timeline. The question is, are you ready to make the jump? Chapter 5. Dreamwork and Astral Travel. Entering Parallel Timelines. Reality does not only unfold in waking consciousness, Each night, as you close your eyes and drift into sleep, you enter a vast, hidden dimension where time, space, and identity dissolve. Dreams have long been regarded as portals to other realms, allowing glimpses into alternate versions of the self, parallel timelines, and even messages from the subconscious mind. Mystics, shamans, and spiritual seekers throughout history have recognized dreams as a gateway to higher knowledge, a bridge between the seen and unseen worlds. Now, modern research into lucid dreaming, near-death experiences, and astral projection is beginning to confirm what ancient traditions have always known: that the dream state is not just a byproduct of the brain, but a means of accessing multidimensional reality. One of the most effective methods for accessing parallel timelines is lucid dreaming. The mind is passive during a typical dream, experiencing things as though they were in a movie. However, in a lucid dream, the dreamer is completely conscious that they are dreaming and has the ability to take charge, engaging with the surroundings, investigating alternative realities, and even entering other lifetimes. Awakening within a dream allows one to practice shifting between dimensions and gain direct knowledge from the subconscious and even the collective consciousness, according to the Tibetan Buddhist tradition of dream yoga, which has been practiced for thousands of years. The dream state was also considered a sacred space by the ancient Egyptians, who thought that initiates might transcend the physical body and speak with higher beings there. Science has begun to support these mystical ideas. Studies on lucid dreamers show that their brains behave differently than in normal sleep, with increased activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain associated with self-awareness, decision-making, and reality perception. In a lucid dream, the laws of physics no longer apply. You can fly, walk through walls, and speak with beings who seem wiser than yourself. But what if these experiences are more than just imagination? What if they are glimpses into alternate realities? Some researchers believe that lucid dreams allow access to parallel timelines where different versions of the self exist. In these states, people have reported encountering future versions of themselves, receiving guidance from a higher self, or even slipping into experiences that later unfold in waking life with uncanny accuracy. Some lucid dreamers describe entering dream worlds that feel more real than their waking life, as if they have temporarily stepped into an alternate version of existence. Beyond lucid dreaming, another technique for accessing parallel realities is dream incubation, the practice of setting an intention before sleep to receive guidance, answers, or insights from a specific version of oneself. Many ancient cultures used dream incubation as a means of spiritual initiation. The Greek temples of Asclepius were designed for seekers to enter a sleep state and receive visions that would heal or reveal truths about their destiny. Indigenous shamans often prepared for dreams with rituals, fasting, or meditation, believing that the dream world could reveal secrets of past and future lives. Write down your intention before bed to start the dream incubation process. Indicate exactly what you would like to experience, be it interacting with a future version of yourself, getting direction from a different timeline, or exploring a different reality. Repetition of the goal will help it become deeply ingrained in your brain as you fall asleep. Record your dreams as soon as you wake up. Eventually, patterns will show up, and the meanings will become more apparent. Some practitioners discover that they get information from their dreams that they would not have otherwise been able to obtain, or that their dreams start to foretell events more accurately. There are other ways to visit parallel dimensions besides dreams. People who have experienced near-death experiences, NDEs, often report escaping their bodies and entering worlds that are not subject to time or space. Many claim to have seen deceased loved ones, spiritual mentors, or entities of pure light. Others even claim to have seen several incarnations of their own lives unfold before them, as though they were seeing directly into the multiverse. Dr. Raymond Moody, a researcher who has studied thousands of near-death experiences, found striking similarities among those who had been clinically dead and revived. Many spoke of traveling through tunnels of light, entering landscapes that felt more real than physical reality, and experiencing timelessness, where past, present, and future coexisted at once. Some returned with knowledge they did not previously possess, as if their consciousness had tapped into a higher source of intelligence during the experience. Astral projection, sometimes referred to as an out-of-body experience, OBE, offers another way to shift into alternate realities. Unlike dreaming, astral projection occurs when the conscious mind remains fully aware as it separates from the physical body. Many who practice astral travel report seeing their physical form from above, then moving beyond it into realms where time and space behave differently. Some describe entering versions of reality that feel just as real as waking life, where they can interact with beings, explore unfamiliar landscapes, or even revisit past and future events. Robert Monroe established the Monroe Institute, which has carried out a great deal of study into altered states of consciousness and astral travel. Monroe created procedures for brainwave synchronization that let people to intentionally disengage from their physical selves and enter non-physical realms where thoughts instantly influence reality. Many astral travelers claim to have visited training grounds for the soul, where they are shown different versions of their life path or given guidance by more experienced entities. These experiences imply that awareness is not limited to the physical body and that one can access dimensions beyond ordinary perception by means of intense meditation, concentrated intention, and altered states. Whether through astral projection, lucid dreaming, dream incubation, or near-death experiences, the evidence points to a far larger self than we have been taught. What if every night you are stepping into different versions of yourself, unaware of the vast realities unfolding beyond your waking mind? What if the dreams you dismiss as random are actually messages from another version of you, guiding you toward a higher path? What if you could train your consciousness to deliberately explore these dimensions, learning from your parallel selves and bringing their knowledge into this world? These are not questions for the distant future. The answers are already within you, waiting for you to awaken to them. The dream world is not just an illusion, it is a portal, and those who learn to navigate it do not merely dream, they travel the multiverse. Chapter 6. Timeline Merging, Bringing Alternate Selves into the Present. Reality is not fixed. It is a living, shifting field of infinite possibilities, constantly shaped by consciousness. Each moment, countless versions of you exist, each moving along different trajectories of experience. Some timelines branch toward abundance, wisdom, and mastery, while others repeat cycles of limitation and struggle. But what if these timelines were not separate? What if, instead of feeling confined to one version of yourself, you could merge with a higher timeline, absorbing the knowledge, skills, and energy of your most evolved self? Throughout history, mystics, yogis, and shamans have described experiences of stepping into expanded versions of themselves, not through years of gradual effort, but through sudden leaps in consciousness. They speak of moments where new abilities appear, fears dissolve, and the mind aligns with a version of reality that feels profoundly different from what came before. In modern metaphysics, this phenomenon is known as timeline merging, the process of integrating the best aspects of your alternate selves into your current experience. Quantum physics suggests that time is not a straight line, but a web of possibilities, where every potential version of your life already exists. Just as a radio receiver tunes into different frequencies, your consciousness can tune into different versions of reality, aligning you with an upgraded version of yourself. The act of merging timelines is not about forcing external circumstances to change. It is about becoming the person who already lives the life you seek, so that reality naturally adjusts to reflect your new state of being. One of the first steps in collapsing timelines is releasing attachment to your old identity. Many people unconsciously hold on to limiting beliefs, habits, and self-concepts that tether them to unwanted versions of reality. They remain locked in patterns of struggle, not because they lack opportunities, but because they have not fully embodied the version of themselves that exists in a different timeline. The key to shifting is to act, think, and feel as if you are already the version of yourself who has stepped into the desired reality. One of the most effective techniques for merging with a higher timeline is the quantum self-integration exercise, Begin by entering a deeply relaxed state, preferably the alpha state, where the mind is more receptive to transformation. Visualize multiple versions of yourself standing before you, each representing a different path, a different outcome, a different energy. Notice how each version carries a unique frequency. Some may appear uncertain or burdened, while others radiate confidence, clarity, and strength. Locate the version of you who has already achieved what you seek, the one who moves through life with ease, wisdom, and mastery. Step forward and merge with this self. Feel their energy becoming yours, their knowledge flowing into your consciousness, their confidence settling into your being. Absorb the shift completely, knowing that this version of you is not separate. It is simply an aspect of yourself that you are now claiming. This practice is not just visualization, it is an energetic realignment. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between past, present, and future. It operates based on vibrational imprinting, meaning that the more you embody the frequency of your highest self, the more reality adjusts to match it. Many people who have practiced timeline merging describe sudden shifts in perception. Some report that problems that once seemed overwhelming simply fade away, as if they belonged to a different version of themselves. Others experience unexplained boosts in confidence, intelligence, or physical ability, as if accessing skills from another lifetime. Synchronicities begin to appear. Books, people, and opportunities show up effortlessly, aligning perfectly with the new reality. Some even notice physical changes such as improved health, shifts in facial expression, or a different way of carrying themselves, as their body reflects the new timeline. One of the most fascinating aspects of timeline merging is its connection to spontaneous mastery. Some individuals have reported suddenly acquiring knowledge, skills, or abilities they never formally studied, as if they had absorbed them from a parallel version of themselves. There are documented cases of people waking up with fluency in a language they had never learned, displaying artistic abilities they had never practiced, or recalling detailed knowledge from subjects they had never studied. While mainstream science attributes these occurrences to subconscious memory or latent talent, some researchers in quantum consciousness believe that these could be evidence of timeline integration, where consciousness pulls in information from an alternate version of the self. The process of stepping into a new timeline does not always happen instantly. Some shifts occur gradually, with subtle yet undeniable changes appearing over time. Others happen abruptly, leading to moments of disorientation, as if waking up in a slightly altered version of reality. Those who undergo major shifts often describe a period of adjustment, where familiar aspects of life no longer resonate in the same way. Relationships may change, old habits may fall away effortlessly, and new passions or interests may emerge unexpectedly. The process of stepping into a new timeline does not always happen instantly. Some shifts occur gradually, with subtle yet undeniable changes appearing over time. Others happen abruptly, leading to moments of disorientation, as if waking up in a slightly altered version of reality. Those who undergo major shifts often describe a period of adjustment, where familiar aspects of life no longer resonate in the same way. Relationships may change, old habits may fall away effortlessly, and new passions or interests may emerge unexpectedly. When making a significant reality shift, it is common to experience what is known as timeline turbulence. This occurs when the old version of reality begins to dissolve, but remnants of the previous self still attempt to pull you back. This can manifest as doubts, emotional resistance, or even external events that test your commitment to the shift. The key is to remain steady in your new identity, reinforcing the state of being that aligns with the timeline you wish to stabilize. By consistently embodying the version of yourself who already exists in the desired reality, you accelerate the timeline merging process. This means choosing thoughts, emotions, and actions that reflect the new self rather than the old. If doubts arise, rather than reinforcing them, shift focus by asking, how would my highest self respond to this? The more you align with this perspective, the faster the new timeline solidifies. Ultimately, timeline merging is about conscious evolution, choosing to integrate the most powerful, wise, and capable aspects of yourself into your present experience. It is about recognizing that the limits you once believed in were merely artifacts of a previous version of reality, one that no longer applies. The process of merging with a higher timeline is not a one-time event, but a way of living. Each day, each moment, you are given a choice to remain in the familiar patterns of the past, or to step boldly into the self who has already awakened. Chapter 7. Aligning with the highest version of yourself. There exists a version of you that has already achieved everything you desire. This version is not a distant fantasy or an unreachable ideal. It is simply another timeline, another frequency of existence waiting for you to step into it. The process of aligning with this highest version of yourself is not about striving, forcing, or chasing. It is about attuning your energy, thoughts, and emotions to the state of being that already exists in that reality. Every thought you hold, every belief you reinforce, and every emotional pattern you engage with determines which version of reality you experience. Quantum physics suggests that infinite possibilities exist simultaneously, and it is your vibrational state that selects which timeline unfolds before you. Spiritual masters and visionaries throughout history have spoken of this principle, often describing it as divine flow, universal harmony, or enlightenment. They understood that when you change your internal state, reality shifts to reflect that change. Learning to feel, think, and act as though you are already the person you want to be is known as mental and emotional synchronization, and it is one of the most effective strategies for connecting with your highest self. A common misconception regarding manifestation is that it is simply hoping for something to happen. Actually, it's about becoming the condition of being that draws that reality to you. You must change internally first, and the outside world will follow, rather than waiting for outside events to validate your transformation. Intention and vision are frequently the first steps in this alignment process, but it needs to involve more than just fantasy. You have to live from that frequency right now if you want to genuinely become the best version of yourself. How does the version of yourself that has already attained success, love, wisdom, or enlightenment think, if it exists? What is it like to walk, talk, feel, and make decisions in that version? The more you exhibit these traits in the here and now, the more you close the distance between the present and the future, in which your goals have already been realized. Synchronization, a potent phenomena where the outside world starts to change to reflect your inner state, will become apparent when you start to connect with your best self. All of a sudden, the appropriate people showed up at the perfect moment. Unexpected opportunities present themselves with ease. Issues that previously appeared insurmountable are resolved without difficulty. This is the quantum field rearranging itself to align with your frequency. It is not a coincidence. The universe uses synchronization to let you know that you are headed in the right direction. Your energy is lining up with a higher timeline when you notice a rise in synchronicities, which are significant coincidences that appear too exact to be coincidental. According to spiritual traditions, this is being in the flow, a state in which things go smoothly, and you feel as though invisible forces are directing you toward your greatest potential. Many people who go through this procedure say they feel as though their ideas are being instantly responded to by reality. They are thinking about someone, and then a few moments later, they get a message from them. They see a particular result, only to see it materialize hours or days later. These indicate that your thoughts and energy have started to cross the gap between timelines, and that you are successfully transitioning between worlds. Another indicator of timeline alignment is an unmistakable feeling of expansion. Those who have experienced major shifts describe it as a sense of lightness, clarity, and deep knowing, a feeling as if something inside them has unlocked. They no longer feel trapped by past limitations. Old fears, doubts, and worries no longer hold the same power. They feel a profound certainty that they are on the right path, even before external evidence appears. However, this transition is not always smooth. As you shift into a new version of yourself, remnants of the old timeline may attempt to pull you back. This often manifests as temporary moments of self-doubt, emotional resistance, or unexpected obstacles, not because the shift isn't working, but because your subconscious is adjusting to the new reality. This is why spiritual discipline, daily alignment practices, and deep trust are essential during this process. This multifaceted awareness has been embodied by spiritual teachers and visionaries throughout history who have been able to move fluidly between many levels of consciousness. Many spoke of their capacity to absorb insights, wisdom, and knowledge that appeared to originate outside of their normal experiences. As though his inventions were already there and he was just accessing them, Nikola Tesla described downloading them from another realm. Leonardo da Vinci was renowned for his multidisciplinary mastery, which he attributed to accessing various incarnations of himself over time. Ancient yogis, mystics, and enlightened individuals sometimes spoke of their consciousness growing beyond space and time, as though they were consciously occupying several dimensions simultaneously. This talent is not exclusive to a select few. The ability to align with greater intelligence is the natural state of awareness. The quantum nature of reality, where past, present, and future selves coexist, and information, skills, and wisdom can be derived from any version of you that has previously mastered what you seek, becomes more accessible the more you let go of limiting ideas and emotional barriers. As you continue on this journey, you may begin to experience reality in ways you never expected. You may feel intuitive nudges guiding you toward choices that lead to profound breakthroughs. You may find yourself spontaneously knowing things you never studied, as if another version of yourself is feeding you information. You may even feel the presence of your own higher self, gently steering you toward greater wisdom, love, and fulfillment. The highest version of you is not separate. It has always been within you, waiting for the moment when you are ready to claim it. The universe does not delay in giving you what you desire. It only waits for you to align with the version of yourself who already holds it. So the question is no longer whether you are capable of stepping into this reality. Chapter 8. The Akashic Field and Accessing Universal Knowledge. There is a field of knowledge that exists beyond the limitations of time and space, a vast repository of all events, thoughts, and experiences, past, present, and future. This is known as the Akashic Records, a dimension of consciousness that has been described by mystics, seers, and spiritual scholars for centuries. Often referred to as the Book of Life, the Akashic Field is believed to contain the entire history of every soul, as well as the infinite potential of every possibility yet to unfold. The idea of a universal field of knowledge is not exclusive to mystical traditions. In quantum physics, the concept of the zero-point field suggests that there is an underlying energy field that connects all things. Researchers such as Dr. Ervin Laszlo have proposed that this field is not just a collection of energy, but an information network that holds the blueprint of reality itself. This means that the knowledge of every timeline, every potential version of reality, already exists in a space beyond ordinary perception. Those who learn to access this field can receive insights, guidance, and even knowledge from alternate versions of themselves. The Akashic Records have been described as a place that can be reached through expanded consciousness in a number of spiritual traditions. Akasha, the cosmic ether that contains all wisdom, is the fifth element according to Hindu philosophy. The ability of enlightened beings to remember their former lives and recognize the interconnection of all events is mentioned in Buddhist teachings. One of the most well-known psychics of the 20th century, Edgar Cayce, claimed to be able to access the Akashic Records while in a trance and retrieve details regarding spiritual development, health, and even events from the far future and past. If time is not linear but rather an intricate web of simultaneous experiences, then the Akashic Field is not just a record of the past, it is a gateway to other timelines, including those where you have already mastered what you seek. Accessing this field allows you to pull knowledge from future versions of yourself, the self who has already succeeded, healed, awakened, or discovered something profound. The process of receiving knowledge from the future self is not as far-fetched as it may seem. Many of the greatest scientific breakthroughs, artistic masterpieces, and spiritual insights have been reported as sudden downloads of information, arriving seemingly out of nowhere. Nikola Tesla claimed that his inventions came to him fully formed in flashes of insight. Srinivasa Ramanujan, a self-taught mathematical genius, said that complex equations appeared in his dreams, gifted to him by a divine source. Mozart described hearing entire symphonies in his mind before ever putting them to paper. Were these moments of genius the result of heightened intuition, or were these individuals unknowingly tapping into a timeline where the knowledge had already been discovered? Those who have experienced spontaneous insights often describe them as moments of deep stillness, where the mind becomes quiet and receptive. This aligns with teachings from meditative traditions, which suggest that the key to accessing higher knowledge is not to seek it aggressively but to attune to it like a radio receiver, allowing the information to flow naturally. One of the most powerful techniques for tuning into the Akashic field is the future self meditation. To practice this, enter a state of deep relaxation, slowing your breath and quieting your thoughts. Visualize yourself stepping into a vast library, temple, or cosmic space, whatever feels most natural to you. Set the intention to meet a version of yourself who already holds the knowledge you seek. See this version of you standing before you, radiating wisdom and certainty. Ask a question and allow the answer to come, not as forced thought, but as a knowing, an image, or a feeling. The more you practice this, the clearer the insights will become. Some who engage in this practice report receiving detailed knowledge of subjects they never studied, ideas that later proved to be accurate, or solutions to problems that seemed unsolvable. Others describe experiencing déjà vu, feeling as though they had already lived through certain events before they happened. If all of time exists simultaneously, then perhaps these experiences are not coincidences, but evidence of consciousness moving between timelines, retrieving information from an expanded version of reality. Another method of accessing higher knowledge is automatic writing, a practice in which the individual enters a trance-like state and allows words to flow onto paper without conscious thought. Many who have engaged in this practice claim that the information they receive is beyond their normal capacity, as if coming from an external intelligence or a higher aspect of themselves. Some spiritual teachers believe that this process allows direct communication with the Akashic field, enabling one to bypass the limitations of logical thinking and tap into universal intelligence. Throughout history, there have been cases of individuals who, seemingly overnight, gained abilities they had never previously demonstrated. Some have woken up speaking languages they never learned, playing musical instruments with proficiency, or demonstrating expertise in complex fields of knowledge. These cases remain a mystery to conventional science, but within the framework of multidimensional consciousness, they may be examples of timeline merging, where knowledge from alternate selves becomes accessible in this reality. The ability to access the Akashic field is not reserved for mystics or geniuses. It is an innate ability that can be cultivated through stillness, intention, and alignment with the frequency of higher knowledge. The key is to move beyond the distractions of the analytical mind and enter a state where intuition and insight can emerge effortlessly. As you deepen your connection to this field, you may begin to notice an increase in synchronicities, subtle signs that reality is responding to your expanding awareness. Books may appear in your life at the perfect moment. Conversations with strangers may contain messages that answer your deepest questions, and solutions may emerge effortlessly as if they were waiting for you to become aware of them. The knowledge of the multiverse is not hidden. It is simply waiting for the moment when you are ready to perceive it. The timelines where you are already wise, already awakened, already in full mastery of your potential are not separate from you. They are accessible, waiting for you to step into their frequency and receive what has always been yours. The Akashic field does not hold the future. It holds all possible futures. The one you align with is the one that unfolds. The answers you seek are not beyond your reach. They are already present within the infinite intelligence that flows through all things. Chapter 9. The Ripple Effect. How shifting yourself changes everything. Experiences of reality are not isolated. Every action, thought, and change in consciousness has an impact on the fabric of existence. It affects not just your own reality, but also the reality of those around you. the course of events, and even the history of humanity as a whole. As soon as you change your inner condition, the outside world starts to change with it. This interconnectivity has been discussed by visionaries, scientists, and spiritual leaders throughout history. The idea is rooted in quantum entanglement, which is the state in which two particles, regardless of their distance from one another, remain instantly coupled. It is reflected in the butterfly effect, which holds that a minor alteration in one area of the world can cause a domino effect with far-reaching effects. Energy is contagious, according to the teachings of mystics and shamans, and you may affect the entire field of consciousness around you by changing your frequency. When a person undergoes a profound transformation, whether in thought, emotion, or belief, their external circumstances often rearrange to reflect the new frequency they have embodied. This is why those who commit to deep inner work often find that old relationships fade while new, aligned connections emerge, career paths unexpectedly change, and obstacles that once seemed immovable dissolve effortlessly. The shift begins internally, but it quickly extends outward, touching everything and everyone in its wake. There are countless accounts of people who have changed their internal world and watched their external reality follow. Some have healed lifelong ailments through belief and intention alone, only to have doctors baffled by their sudden recovery. Others have transformed their mindset from scarcity to abundance, and almost magically, financial opportunities appeared. There are even cases of individuals who, after deeply reprogramming their subconscious mind, have experienced their entire social circle shifting, as if they had stepped into an alternate version of their life, where everything was aligned with their new frequency. One remarkable example is the story of a man who spent years struggling with financial hardship. No matter how hard he worked, he found himself stuck in the same cycle of lack and limitation. One day, he decided to stop chasing external solutions and instead focus entirely on shifting his internal frequency, cultivating a sense of deep gratitude, abundance, and certainty that his circumstances would change. Within weeks, his reality began to shift. Unexpected financial windfalls arrived. Business opportunities appeared where none had existed before. He later described the experience as stepping into a different version of his life, where success was already waiting for him. Similarly, there are stories of people who, after making a radical shift in self-perception, found that even their physical environment seemed to transform. Some have reported seeing changes in familiar locations, storefronts that seemed to have always been there, but that they had never noticed before. Historical events they remembered differently, or even subtle but undeniable changes in the personalities of people they had known for years. This leads to an even more profound question. Are we shifting not only our personal reality, but the collective timeline as well? The Mandela effect is one of the most mysterious phenomena that suggests reality is more fluid than we assume. Named after the widespread memory discrepancy regarding the death of Nelson Mandela, where thousands of people distinctly recall him passing away in prison in the 1980s. Despite the official history stating he lived until 2013, the Mandela effect refers to collective shifts in memory and perception that suggest we are experiencing timeline changes on a mass scale. Some of the most well-known examples include people remembering iconic brand names, movie quotes, and historical events differently than how they are recorded. Theories about the Mandela effect range from quantum timeline merging to glitches in the matrix. But at its core, it suggests that reality is not as fixed as we believe. If we accept that we are constantly shifting through different versions of reality, both individually and collectively, then the implications are staggering. It means that by deliberately choosing our thoughts, emotions, and beliefs, we are not only shaping our personal experience, but also contributing to the direction of humanity's collective evolution. This brings us to the idea of becoming a deliberate creator of your reality. Most people drift through life, unaware of their power to influence their circumstances. They react to external events rather than shaping them. But those who understand the nature of consciousness realize that reality is not something to be passively experienced. It is something to be directed. To become a deliberate creator, one must first take full responsibility for their internal state. The external world is a mirror, reflecting back the dominant thoughts, emotions, and beliefs held within. Instead of waiting for circumstances to change before feeling different, one must embody the change first, thinking, feeling, and acting as if the desired reality is already here. This process is not about force or control, but about energetic alignment. Those who have mastered this understand that the universe responds not to desperation, but to certainty. When you embody the reality you desire with unwavering faith, you pull it into existence. By shifting yourself, you shift everything. As your vibration rises, you inspire others to do the same, whether consciously or unconsciously. As you step into higher timelines, you influence the collective path of humanity. Every shift, no matter how small, sends ripples through the quantum field, shaping the world in ways beyond what the mind can comprehend. The idea that one person's awakening can shift the entire timeline of Earth is not just a poetic notion, it is a fundamental truth of consciousness. The question is no longer whether you have the power to shape your reality. The question is, what reality are you choosing to create? Conclusion. You are already moving between realities, whether you realize it or not. Every thought, every intention, every deep desire is pulling you toward one timeline or another. The question is, are you shifting consciously or unconsciously? The world you seek, the version of yourself you dream of becoming, it already exists. You do not need to create it from nothing. You only need to align with it. The journey of multidimensional mastery is endless. Where you go next is up to you.